All right, guys, welcome to episode 244 of the podcast. Today we have Jesse Anglen with Rapid Innovation here to talk about Dapp developments. Jesse, how you doing?
Dude, I am fantastic.
It's good to have you on, man. It's an absolute pleasure. Where are you based? Where are you from?
So home base is northern Idaho. I live like an hour away from Canada, up in the mountains. I kind of live a weird incognito life because
Uh-huh.
unlike my public work life, I've got I've got all the blockchain and tech stuff that I'm doing. But in my personal life, I've got a 5-acre farm. I've got animals. Like everyone kind of just thinks that I'm this rural guy who I don't know, who likes to grow gardens and do other stuff like that. And I try to keep it that way around here so no one really knows what I do. And then everywhere else, people get to know that I'm in the blockchain space.
That's a cool combination, to work in the blockchain space and do all these things, but also have a farm and have animals and live in northern Idaho.
Yeah.
What's that life kind of like?
Dude, I love it. I mean, one of the things that's really nice about the fully remote thing, for a lot of the world, it's kind of new, right? Because COVID forced everyone into this fully remote thing. But when I first envisioned Rapid Innovation, I wanted it to be fully remote, and I wanted to cater specifically to people who wanted to be digital nomads or live a life that, where they could kind of do whatever they wanted to do, be wherever they wanted to be, as long as they had a good internet connection.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm really passionate about one thing. I love watching things grow, right? And so in my work life, I like growing businesses, helping other people grow businesses, taking something from nothing and then turning it into something. But in my personal life, the best, analog to what I do in my work life is like watching a garden grow, watching animals grow. Like I love the whole farm thing because you just kind of watch it come alive every year and you go out and do stuff and it's a system that works by itself to like make things for you, which is very, very much like business. I think that's why I like it so much. So I love it.
Nice. It's got to be a fun lifestyle. I grew up in Oregon, so I'm familiar with what it's like up there in the Pacific Northwest and the territory, and grew up with animals too, and really big property, and had a lot of friends live that lifestyle as well. And then we're all going these different directions into tech as well. So it's kind of funny how you can branch out from humble beginnings like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jesse, tell me a bit more, other than where you live, about your background, your story. Like, how did you make that transition where you've gone from that lifestyle to being in this space and doing what you do?
Yeah. So I mean, the story's pretty simple. I've always loved technology, and I've always loved starting businesses. Like those two things have really just gone. I don't know. I just pursued them my whole life. And so in 2009, I got my real estate license and decided I was going to grow this big real estate company. I had some ideas for how I could do it differently than everyone else, and be super successful. And so, got into that space. And 2011, probably, one of my clients, who was an investor, sat me down and said, "Hey, I want to sell every property I've ever bought because I'm going to go buy this thing called Bitcoin." And I spent the next 2 hours trying to convince him that he was a complete idiot. Like, no one goes and sells the best investment on planet Earth, real estate, and then buys some scam thing. It just doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't listen to me. He ended up selling a bunch of real estate, buying a ton of Bitcoin in between 2011 and 2012. Did very well for himself, because if you buy $250,000 of Bitcoin in 2011, you actually do pretty well for yourself. And so he tried to convince me to get into the space with him for years. And I had an issue with, basically, I understood the idea behind a decentralized payment rails system and decentralizing money and giving people ownership of money, and that was awesome. But the application layer that you use all of that on was the internet, right? Web 2.0. And the problem with Web 2.0 is that it's not decentralized. And so if you had a decentralized component to this centralized ecosystem, it just didn't make any sense to me. And so I basically told him, no, I'm not going to get in the space. It doesn't make sense. I want to continue to do what I'm doing. And probably 2014, he had run across Ethereum and was basically thinking about investing in it, and so invited me to a Google Hangouts where Vitalik was talking about what they were doing and their initial private round type thing that they were doing. And I fell in love with Ethereum. I fell in love with Web 3.0. I didn't know really that that's what it was at the time. And that's when I decided, like, I need to get rid of my business and I need to jump into this crypto space full time because I think that this is going to be amazing. So I did. I got out of the real estate side of things, joined him. We did a lot of like super fun things together. Kind of worked in what I consider the real Wild West of the crypto space. The whole ICO run up, and everyone building all kinds of crazy stuff. Like people wanted to tokenize everything, like ridiculous things that made sense. It was just a crazy, crazy fun time. And eventually, about 3 years ago, he decided that he wanted to focus more on AI and machine learning. And I wanted to stay focused on the blockchain space. And so, is that super noisy?
A little bit, but it's okay. We're promoting the digital nomad lifestyle.
Yeah, that's good. It is one of the things that kind of sucks about being a digital nomad, but that's all right.
Oh, wow.
And so, so basically, he went one direction, I went another direction. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, right? Like I had done a bunch of different stuff in the blockchain space, and the thing that I loved doing the most was helping people build stuff. Like someone comes to me with an amazing idea, I sit down and assemble a team, really get the roadmap figured out, figure out how they're going to launch this product and market it. And like, I love the creation of things. And so, especially anything innovative. And so that's where Rapid Innovation came from, and where the idea of building a company that anyone can plug an idea into and a working application comes out the other side, 90, 120 days later, that they can then hit the market with. And so, yeah, I think that's the simple version of my story. There's all the other fun stuff that's happened in between, like the wallets that I don't have private keys for, and all the other fun things that.
What? You have wallets? You lost your private keys?
Yeah, maybe a few. I don't want to talk about that here. People might think I'm stupid.
Well, I think a lot of people have that story, unfortunately. A lot of us, bought this stuff for fun a long time ago and misplaced it because we didn't take it seriously. And then we're like, oh shit. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm guilty of it too, unfortunately. But it happens. Have you mostly been focused on the Ethereum ecosystem? Is that where you spend most of your time learning and being involved in the space? Or have you been involved with some other blockchains?
So oddly, it started there, and it was all Ethereum for a while. And then EOS came out, and actually Rapid Innovation was founded, like my first team, they were all EOS developers, and so C++. EOS flopped. If there's any fanboys out there, I guess I apologize for being blunt about it, but it just didn't ever go anywhere from a development standpoint and people building stuff on it. And so we shifted from that back to Ethereum. And then as of today's date, so let's see, 3 years ago we started, there were 5 of us on the team, 6 of us on the team. And we now have 300, right around 300 people. And so we focus everywhere. I mean, we do the EVM space, so kind of run the whole gamut there, Avalanche, Ethereum, etc. And then we've got the Rust ecosystem, which we've recently added in the last, say, 3 months. And so Solana and Terra and things of that nature. And then we've got the C++ stuff. So, and we still do a little bit of it, Wax and EOS and C++ chains. So I would say those are the 3 languages we focus on, though, would be Solidity, Rust, and C++.
Nice.
Which gives us 30 chains, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many chains out there, so many different things you can build on. It's kind of crazy. You can kind of lose yourself in the mix of things. Do you think Ethereum is still the best place to build something, given its popularity, or do you think Solana is also good, or Cardano, or any of these other chains?
That's a hard, like, people ask me all the time what my favorite piece of technology is. And the truth is, every 3 months it probably changes a little bit because someone else comes out with something that I think is cool. But I think that each chain really right now has its use case, right? Like Ethereum is really good for some stuff, but if you want to get like a high volume of transactions, like low cost transactions, like you can't use Ethereum. You're going to have to go somewhere else. Whether you're on Polygon or
Hmm.
Binance Smart Chain or Solana or something else. And so I'm not really a maximalist anywhere anymore. I used to be. I would say I was a hardcore Ethereum maximalist when I first got into the space. Like everything Ethereum or nothing else. I didn't even like Bitcoin. Like it was just Ethereum for me, and that died when I realized that it doesn't work. Like there are certain things that you can't do on certain chains, and you have to spread out. And there's even applications we've built where certain, like there's bridges built inside the application, and certain functions will happen on one chain where it makes sense, and then tokens can actually seamlessly bridge between chains, and other functions will happen on other chains just because it makes sense. Um, where you want high frequency transactions in one place, but then you want long-term storage of, say, NFTs or tokenized assets on another chain where it makes sense. So things, I don't know. For me now, today it's very dynamic, I guess.
Gotcha. So what's the step-by-step process look like if someone wants to build their own Dapp? They want to build their own blockchain-based application. Um, how does someone get started if they wanted to work with you guys?
So for us, we've tried to make it easy. But what I'll just go through the process, and
Hmm.
I'll kind of tell you what we do and what we don't do, because there's some stuff that we don't. But ultimately, it starts with an idea, right? Some guy wakes up in the morning, takes a shower, comes up with his brilliant idea. Once you have that base idea, like here's a product I could build in the DeFi space, or something I could do with an NFT or tokenizing an asset that's going to make me stand out from the crowd, and I think people are going to be interested, then you have to take that and you have to actually build a business around it. So you have to figure out how you're going to make money. You've got to figure out what your roadmap is. You need to figure out what the very first version of your product is that you're bringing to market. And you also need to figure out how you're going to architect it and make it scalable, right? Is it decentralized only? Is it a hybrid product that's decentralized and but also has like traditional Web2 components that are backended, and more of a traditional backend along with a blockchain integration. And so you architect everything out, and we call that art discovery and architecting process. And by the time when you're done with that, you know what you need to build. And so from there, and I would say the other thing would be the designs, like either low fidelity UX designs or user experience designs, or even take it all the way to where you have the high fidelity user interface that's based on the UX that you build. And once you have that, it's just a matter of breaking it down into tasks, giving it to developers to build out and stitch everything together. Because most applications have a blockchain component where you've got whatever chain you're on, say you're on Polygon. So you've got all your smart contracts, and then you've got your backend component where you're going to be doing some things to make the user experience a little bit better, where you're not waiting for on-chain data to load and things along those lines, and then you've got your front end. So you just build those three pieces out, you stitch them all together, and then you push it out. I mean, I make it sound more simple than it is, because that process takes 3 months probably on average, maybe a little longer sometimes. And then you launch it, and then you market it. And marketing is something I don't do. For us, like it's about the ideation and making sure that you have an idea that will actually work, and then building it. And then from there, you're on your own to go and attract people and actually, get people to use it.
Gotcha. I imagine marketing is a huge part of it too, because you do have quite a saturated marketplace of dApps out there. Everyone's trying to figure out what's the best one to use, and so I imagine that's a lofty
Yeah.
task to
It's
take on as well.
yeah, it's amazing how many people fail at launching stuff. And a lot
Hmm.
of one of the things I've noticed is that you get, all kinds of different entrepreneurs with all kinds of ideas. And I used to think when someone came in and told me their idea, I'd be like, man, that's an awesome idea. You're going to make a lot of money. Or that's a really crappy idea. You're like, no one's ever going to use it. You're never going to make money. And what was interesting is there's almost nothing where the idea actually is a factor in whether or not someone's going to make money or not. Like a crappy idea with really good execution will make money. A brilliant idea with really poor execution will not. And
Right.
it's more about the execution. And a huge part of that is marketing. That's one of the big mistakes that I've seen entrepreneurs make is they come in, they build this amazing product. It's beautiful. It's got some, some sort of unique USP, some unique selling proposition or unique value proposition. Like it's an amazing product and they build it and it's beautiful and it works really well. And then they don't tell anyone about it. And then they go under and they fail.
Of course, marketing is everything. Do you guys have someone that you refer people to, like after you build out one of these applications, and you say, hey, we don't do the marketing, but we know this person that does, or we know this company or this team. Do you have that set aside for people as an option?
I've got a few people that I'll throw names in the bucket and let people choose from. You know what? I'm really careful with referrals. Back in the day, I used to be like, hey, you should go talk to these guys. They're going to do an amazing job and really take care of you. And then they don't, and my reputation gets hurt. And so I'm a little bit more careful these days on that. But I do have some people that I trust, and I am in the process. I've got like a 21, 22 person marketing team right now that's just working on marketing rapid innovation. But as we get systems in place that I'm really confident about, and I know they work well, it's a service that we're eventually going to offer as well, so that when someone shows up, they don't have to think about anything. Like all they have to do is come up with an idea and bring it to us, and out comes a functioning product that people know about. And if it's a good idea, then and you run the company well, then you'll make money. And if it's not, then you won't. Because that's what I wish I had access to. Like I've built I've built a bunch of different companies over the course of my lifetime, and it's always like, piecemeal this and piecemeal that and kind of stitch everything together and hopefully you're successful. But it's very systematic. Like there is a formula for building a company that's successful. It's not magic and it's not luck. It's usually a lot of hard work and, doing that hard work in the right order and, in the right way, and then you'll experience some sort of success.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, it's having access to those resources, but also cost to entry.
Yes.
And that's a big part of it, because it can be a little daunting when you see something like even a normal application. Like there's a couple of projects down in Columbia we're working on where we're trying to build out an application, and depending on who you talk to, you're looking at a $20,000 cost to produce an application with one group of people, and with another it's $120,000. So it's a very difficult thing that matters tremendously in this space too.
Well, and dude, all the stories that I've heard of people like getting, I'll say screwed over basically by developers where they come in, because there's this guy, I have a ton of respect for him. Actually, I recently hired him, but he's always worked for other people. And about 2 months ago, I finally convinced him to come on the team. But he always, he said one time that like development is a little bit like a magical black box, right? That no one really understands except for these magicians who go and write code. And I think that it feels like that for a lot of people. And so if you hire the wrong team of magicians who are going to make this black box do what you want it to, like you may not get the result that you want. Now there are some things that you can do to make sure that doesn't happen, and that it's a little bit less of a black box. But most people don't even know where to start with that. And there's a lot of really, really rough stories where people have just lost a lot of money and gotten nothing for it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've seen that happen a lot too, and I think I've been victim to it a few times. But that's how you learn. It's just developers kind of get away with murder with pricing things these days because they're so high in demand. What are you going to tell them? Because I don't know how to code, so I can't do it myself. Most people don't, unfortunately. What are some examples of dApps that you guys have built in the past previously?
Let's see. What are some that I'm pretty that I'm proud of. So there's a DeFi application called Planet Finance.
Hmm.
What is it? It's like the URL is like, I think it's planetfinance.io.
I could probably pull
Yeah,
it up. Wait.
I think it's planetfinance.io. That one's just fun because it started with this idea of a yield aggregator, just like, I mean, like a bajillion of them, but they wanted to build an ecosystem, and it's a really good example of a team it was a fully anonymous team that engaged us. That they had this idea that it was just executed very very well. Like, let's start with a very very simple yield aggregator, just like everyone else is doing, and then um, let's add a lending token on it, and then really kind of create the tokenomics over the course of 3 or 4 or 5 6 7 months
Hmm.
that become sustainable and work really well. Plus, I like the UI and the UX, and I'm happy with it. And so that's an application. We're working with the Vaynerchucks to build out another application called Artificial. I
Hmm.
think it's just artificial.com. And that's kind of a fun one because they're trying to take real world artists that are already pretty popular
Hmm.
and move their art on chain. And plus, it's the Vaynerchucks, which I think, like, working
Sure.
with them is just kind of fun. Um, What's another one? Oh, we got to work with Wall Street Bets. I wouldn't say that, like, that was just fun. Like, the Wall Street Bets guys are crazy, right?
Hmm.
Their whole community is insane. And so built out several things for them, and that kind of turned into some other stuff. So that was kind of fun. I guess I could give a shout out to the Hexicans, and this is controversial, right? So
Sure.
either people hate Richard Hart or they love Richard Hart. I would say most people are that way. I'm pretty neutral. I think the guy he's freaking brilliant. I
Hmm.
mean, at the end of the day, you go from a guy who repairs air conditionings for a living to someone who's got a couple $1 billion sitting in a bank account. Like, you don't do that without being brilliant and an incredibly hard worker. And so we got to work with him and work with the Hexicans on a couple of projects and doing some of the stuff that they're doing, and that's been fun. But a lot of it's the people, man. Like, you meet some of the most talented and most amazing people. I should probably do like a shout out to all of my clients, so that someone doesn't listen to this and get pissed off. We're doing some really, really amazing stuff for some really,
Hmm.
really amazing people in the space.
Yeah, I mean
And
that's the thing you don't think about, right? Is so I have the same experience when I started doing the podcast because I didn't know these people really existed or that they were so intelligent or so smart or that they knew all these things that they eventually talked about. And it's shocking. It's fun not just doing the podcast for me, but the people I meet on the show. I mean, I'm sure it's the same for you. You're taking on projects, but then you meet these people and you're like, wow, these are some really interesting guys and gals and doing some cool stuff. It's that interaction that I love so much.
yeah, dude, and there's so many smart people in this space doing so many amazing things. I mean, that's what I would say I love about it more than anything else is that there's, like, you meet some people that are like, they're just out to make money, right? They're like, hey,
Hmm.
can you clone this, change the branding? I'm going to go ahead and push really hard to try to take a bunch of people's money, and that's my whole goal in life. I try to stay away from those people as much as I can. I mean, I get to work with them, but there's a whole group of people that really are passionate about this space and want to make a world impact in some way. Now they want to make money, and that's fine. Like, everyone should want to make money. There's nothing wrong
Hmm.
with that. But they also want to make a difference. Like, they want to impact the world in some way. They want to change finance. They want to change art. They want to change real estate. They want to change, voting and politics. Like, they want to make a lasting impact on how the world functions. And I love those people. Like, I love them because I think that this technology has the ability to make the world a better place, and I
I
really
agree.
believe involved with that. And so when people, way smarter people than me, come up with these amazing ideas to do it, like, I'm on board with helping them.
Yeah, I think that blockchain is the most innovative space in the world right now. You can't say that there are a bunch of exciting, innovative things happening in the auto industry right now, or in AI, or in IoT, or just go down the list. There's not a whole lot of industries that are exciting to be in, and this one's not just exciting and attracting so much development, money, innovation, investment, but also it does change the world in fundamental ways that are really important in just about every industry. So when people say that blockchain is one of the most important technologies we've ever had, or that Web 3.0 will be one of the biggest changes we've ever had in human history, I don't think that's a small thing. I think that's true.
Dude, I think so.
Curious about what your opinion might be on that as well.
Dude, I absolutely think it's true. I mean, I was when I finally got it, like I had that when the light turned on and I
Hmm.
realized what I was looking at in late 2014. I realized that I was kind of staring at the internet in 1989, like 1985. Like, wow, there's this thing that's going to bring information to the entire world, and and I missed out on that because I was a little kid and I couldn't take advantage of it. But I realized I was looking at the same opportunity. Like, I think blockchain will do for the planet what the internet did for the planet in a very, very different way. But I think it will have the same impact. 20 years from now, I don't think anyone on planet Earth will have an interaction uh, with other people, or we're buying stuff, or like our interactions will be really connected to a blockchain in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the money that we use, or how we pay our rent, or buy a house or a car, or what we use to go show the cops our driver's license when we get pulled over, or how we go and shop on Amazon, or whatever the big decentralized marketplace is going to be that takes that over, how we search the internet and find information. Like, all of that's going to be touched somehow. I don't know how yet, and I see really smart people working on stuff,
Hmm.
but it's all going to be affected in 20 years. And I think that there's a time coming where people will not be able to imagine a world without some form of DLT, blockchain, ledger technology. It will be unimaginable that we ever lived that primitive Web 2.0 lifestyle. I believe that.
Yeah, it's accelerating the technology year after year. If you think about it, the industry has only really truly existed for about 5 or 6 years, which is
Yep.
insane to think about. Bitcoin has been around since 2009, Ethereum since 2013, I think.
I think it launched, mainnet
Maybe
launch was like August 2015. So
20,
even
yeah.
later, yeah.
So even later than that, and then not until 2017 was there traction. Not until a couple of years ago was there really an industry. So it is moving fast, but it's such a baby still. People don't
Yep.
really think about it. We take that for granted, and we're like, oh, it bubbles up, it bubbles down, bubbles up, bubbles down, and
Yep.
yeah, there's a lot of people working in this space, but it's not a big deal. But that's just not the case. I mean,
Yep.
it's the industry is such a baby. I'm surprised people don't jump on it even more.
I know.
20
Dude, I
years
think
down the line,
if you break
20.
it into like a pie chart, like
Hmm.
where adoption is at, or you look at it, I think people believe that that the market is saturated, but we haven't even touched the market yet. Like, I think the sliver in the pie chart is so small at this point you can't see it,
Hmm.
because there's just too much left to do. And when enterprise starts getting in, like, that's where we're going to see stuff. I mean, one of the things that's changed in the last year for us is, we've always dealt with just entrepreneurs, right? Small time people who have made some money in blockchain, who had a great idea for a business and they want to build something. Um, but I've been getting phone calls from the Fortune 200 list. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They don't want to get left behind, and so they want help getting into the space, help figuring out what is this? Like, every major Fortune 500 company has someone who is looking into blockchain right now,
Hmm.
trying to figure out how to use it. And when that train leaves the station, like I think it's over. Like that's when adoption happens. It's exactly what happened with the internet. When the Fortune 500 list, took a look at the internet and said, "Hey, let's start using this." In the let's say the mid 90s, at that point the train had left the station. It was over. Like the internet was here to stay. And the same thing's happening right now. We're going to see a massive uptick in adoption over the next 2 years, and it's going to keep going for the next 15.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's going to shock people how much this space levels up in the next couple of years, maybe even sooner than that. I think in the next year, because especially because of things like NFTs that have generated so much attention and pop culture excitement, and DeFi being such an important space. It's kind of come out of nowhere. Really putting banks through a loop and putting big tech in a corner, and governments scrambling to try and figure out what to do left and right. So I think much sooner than we expect, we'll see an industry grow tremendously. Yeah, definitely within the next couple of years. One more question on rapid innovation, then we'll kind of start wrapping things up. What's your guys's timeline usually look like for developing out an application? I'm sure it depends on like the complexity and also what it is, but on average, what do you guys usually see? Does it take like a year to build out? Does it take less, longer?
So it depends on, like there's this term in the industry, an MVP, which most people say minimum viable product. Really, another way to think of it is the minimum valuable product. I like that term better. So like if you're going to build something, what is the minimum? What are the least amount of features you have to add in order to make it valuable to somebody? And so if you think of that as a product, like I would say on average, it probably takes somewhere between 3 and 4 months to get something like that built. If it's more complex, then it can take longer. And if it's not, it can take 45 days to build something out if you do it very, very quickly. But from there, it's iterative, right? Like you continue to build, and hopefully you build for years. It never ends. Because that cycle needs to keep going. You get user feedback. That user feedback gives you direction as to what new features you should be adding, what stuff you should fix. You fix that stuff, and that cycle of that Kaizen cycle just keeps going. But to get a product launched, like I have an idea and I want to push something out on mainnet, start marketing it, and get users, I would say on average for us, on average 3 to 4 months. Sometimes less, sometimes more.
Nice. Well, I have an idea. I want to see somebody create a decentralized podcasting app, or maybe even more so, just an app for audio, a decentralized one that rewards creators, but also rewards people for listening. I think it'd be really cool ecosystem to put together.
Dude, does that, I know like for video that exists through a couple of different platforms, does that not exist for audio?
I know a few people that are trying to get at it right now, but I've still seen nobody really do it. And I'm like, why? Like the future is audio. That's how people are going to consume information. Why hasn't anyone done it yet? So I don't know. It's surprising to me.
Yeah. Dude, well, one of the guys that listens to this should call me up and let's build it. That sounds fun to me.
Absolutely. Where can people check out and follow Rapid Innovation, and you as well?
I was actually told by my PR guy about 2 weeks ago that if I don't start getting more active on Twitter, then he's going to fire me. You can follow me on Twitter at LOTFB86 is my Twitter handle. And then really all of our socials are just on rapidinnovation.io. We've got our Instagram and our YouTube, and we're trying to produce more content. We've kind of been in incognito mode for the last 2 years, maybe even 2.5 years, and we're just now deciding like, hey, let's market and tell people who we are. I believe I was talking to the Get Back Consensus guys maybe a month ago, and I believe that in the space of Web3 development for non-enterprise people, we are now the largest blockchain development company in the world who does only Web3 or Web3 development company in the world, because they can't find anyone else bigger. they no longer do that with their developers. And so with our 300 people, we've crossed this threshold to being the largest in the world, which is silly. We should
Congratulations. That's awesome, though.
It's just new, too new to have competition yet, which that'll change hopefully. So yeah, if you do enough Googling, we're kind of all of roads lead to rapid innovation right now. If you start looking for Web3 developers but yeah, rapidinnovation.io, easiest way to find us.
Awesome. Well, guys, go check out Jesse. Go check out Rapid Innovation. Be sure to like the video and subscribe, and check out the new podcast collection, NFT collection for the podcast on OpenSea. Jesse, you'll like this. I'll show you. I got it up here.
Dude. So we give away a free podcast or a free NFT every single month, dude. We should do a collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're doing is we're releasing NFTs for every episode that comes out. And we will eventually start putting in small clippets or exclusive audio, maybe like off the record stuff, maybe that we talk about, or just some fun things. And then also people will be able to get a chance to purchase the NFT and get featured on the podcast, get a sponsorship placement, do a number of cool things. So we'll attach some. Awesome. Yeah, we're going to attach some value to the NFTs. The first one is out already. This one will go out probably later this week or next week, and then last week's episode will probably go out later today. So I think we're one of the first podcasts to do like a legit NFT collection.
I've never heard of it before, so you've got to be.
Yeah, so why not, right? Someone's got to do it, so why not us?
Yeah. Dude, that's freaking awesome. I love the idea. One of the coolest NFT applications that I've seen is where people use it for membership of some sort, whether that's access to like a website or access to a conference and with special perks or something like that. Like, I love the art stuff. Well, I'm lying. I don't really love the art stuff. I just can't wrap my mind around it completely. But there's so much utility that you can put into an NFT with access. Just that one word and NFT. Like, there's a billion applications.
Yeah, the future will be content sharing and then subscriptions. Unfortunately, that system doesn't quite exist yet, but when it does, we'll probably jump on board. I just don't want to restrict the listenership. Like, I want people to be able to watch the episode, listen to the episode, and not feel they have to pay a premium to get into every single episode when someone can just buy it and leak it online. So we want to do more creative stuff with it and try and keep it as inclusive as much as we can.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I love this. I love that you're doing stuff because you're
all the time.
Is where your mouth is at. That's brilliant. I like people like you.
No, I appreciate it. Anyways, I got to get going. I'm sure you got things to do too. But Jesse, thank you for taking the time to come on the show. Really do appreciate it. And let's chat again in the future. A lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, be a blast. Brandon, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Anytime. Have a good day. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Take it easy.